Hey, welcome back, Vince.
Hey, how's it going? It's been, a long time.
Yeah, it's been what, an hour and a half? We're back.
Right around there.
We found Kingsley. He
He was
was
alive.
he was alive, and I don't know where we found him, but I'm sure there's a story. He's probably like a full Disney epic about it.
Oh,
Finding
yeah.
Kingsley.
Two-part animated movie directed by Marvel that's probably not as good as the original comic run, but was okay.
Yeah, you got it. So I'm gonna hop into the game here real quick. I hate that Chikoku always asks me to update my password every time.
Right? So taking a look, they have started, at least in terms of seeing who goes first, and we have Kingsley going first. So Dragon is, I believe he's opting to go first.
That looks correct. All right, we should be good. Full screened, good to go.
A la cuisine.
All right, so for those of you who were with us earlier, we had a delay where we could not find Kingsley for a little bit, and he has shown up a bit late. Heinzel has been graciously kind enough to allow the reschedule of the match. And so we're here. We're excited to commentate this game between two giants in the LCG. Kingsley playing Dragon with Crab Splash, and Heinzel playing Scorpion with the traditional Dragon Splash. I am joined by Vince Velorn, the Ghoulie and looks like we're just finishing up Mulligans right now.
Yep. So from the looks of it here, Kingsley is going first, so he gets that, the first action, while Heinzel gets the first fate. And from Mulligans, Heinzel Mulligan 3 from Dynasty. Kingsley only did 1. Heinzel did 2 from their hand. Kingsley looks like he didn't do anything from his hand.
Yep, and we see a really, really strong start here for Kingsley. We have a Doom Shugenja, great opening card, as well as several Voltron options available to him. Going first, though, he's a little limited on Fate, so I imagine it's going to be Neat and Master +2, and whether or not he buys the Doom Shugenja will be up for debate after that, depending on his hand.
Yeah, and Heinzel on the bottom here, not a terrible start. He's got the manipulator, so he can do some shenanigans with the bidding, and a liar, and then Unico, but then not much else from there. But Unico could be good, except it's not great against Dragon because most of their stats are pretty even. So you're not getting a
Yeah.
lot of really good flips on their stats.
And we know that while Heinzel is running conflict characters, he's running very cheap ones. Tattooed Wanderer and Adept of Shadows being sort of the mainstay of his deck, with one rogue, Yojimbo, in there as well. So this Dynasty flop could hurt him a little bit. Obviously, Liar and Yunaka with 2 Fate is not terrible, but it's not a power start like we see from Dragon. We
Not
do see
nearly as
Kingsley
much.
open up with that Neaton Master with 2 Fate, and then we'll see what he does, whether or not he passes for the additional Fate, or whether he buys the Doom Shugenja as well.
Yeah, against a not crab deck, I don't know if you necessarily need the Doom Shugenja, especially when you have the Eaton Master, who he probably is going to have at least one weapon in hand. So he'll get at least one attack and a block, or even 2 attacks. And we
Yeah,
do see Heinzel pick up the Liar with 1 Fate on it.
yeah, and we know Kingsley, the only weapon that he would need the Fate for would be the Ancestral Dice Show. So hopefully, for Kingsley's sake, he wants to see Pathfinder's Blade and Flying Katanas so that he can get that extra body on the Doom Shugenja and maybe push through more breaks. Worth noting as well, if he does go for the Doom Shugenja, uh, he will have protection in a political conflict from court games, which I think is a good idea to have against Scorpion. Force them to have the way of the Scorpion to land the Dishonor on your Neaton Master. When you see him buy the Doom Shugenja, basically saying to Heinzel, I doubt you're just going to buy the Bayushi Liar and pass. I imagine you're buying another character. So he still
Oh,
gets the
yeah,
passing fate.
for sure.
When we see Heinzel, now
And we
that
see
things have passed, we see him go
immediately
through
fire off his Stronghold.
the Stronghold and the Storehouse. Boom, boom. Quick plays by
Uh,
Heinzel. He knew what was
Quick
going
bid
on.
5 for both players, so going up to 9 and 10 respectively.
Completely expected for both players here. Heinzel's playing the tempo control list, so he'll have the ability to sort of dictate the game a lot better if he has more cards. And Scorpion always likes just having lots of cards. Same with Dragon. So for now, no real pressure on Honor for either side, but they're going to be looking to get some fast breaks, and we'll see how this conflict phase plays out. The Newton Master is very scary, but also just the sheer number of stats on the Scorpion side are formidable as well. So Scorpion still has very strong presence on the board.
Indeed. And so he goes for a military attack with Void, probably trying to get rid of the Liar, and hits a Manicured Garden.
Indeed. And we do see the Yunako defense, which puts defender 1 over exactly where you want to be, forcing the attacker to use cards if they wish to win the conflict. And I imagine Kingsley cares a little about this Void Ring, but maybe not so much that he's willing to spend military pumps on it, because it's unlikely he'll be able to break.
This definitely feels like an attack where I'm just trying to, if I can win and break, cool. If not, it's no skin off my back.
Yeah, this is a straight poke attack, I think, from Kingsley. He's just looking to see how the Scorpion's going to play out the turn a little more. And we'll see how much he decides to commit to this here. I believe Heinzel's waiting on an action here. Yeah, oh, no, never mind. He used the Manicured Garden. We were waiting on Kingsley's action. He does decide to commit the Daisho, which is a fine commitment because it returns to his hand anyway. It's not a wasted attachment because the Doomshugenja has no fate.
And Kingsley has no real worries here because, as we saw earlier, Heinzel's not running Calling in favor, so he's not going to have to worry about his attachments being taken.
Indeed, indeed. As well, we also see Kingsley kind of proverbially putting the ball back in Heinzel's court. Now that Kingsley's up 1, he is somewhat forcing Heinzel's hand to either concede the Void Ring, which will remove a character from the board, or to commit cards like Kingsley has to the conflict.
For sure. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong for Heinzel. Well, she does pass here. So he is conceding this battle. And that's, not awful. You lose the Bayushi Liar, but you still get to draw a card.
Yeah, I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world at all.
Nah.
Yeah. I'm wondering what else is in Kingsley's hand to make him think that maybe the Daisho was worth pushing it through, but I guess I think 1 fate spent on the Daisho here is worth removing a fate and removing that Liar from next turn, because it is 3 political skill.
Mm-hmm. And Empathy asks an interesting question of that he tends to keep Storehouse until he sees what the opponent's going to do for an attack, and if they break or just pass. And, I like to keep my Storehouses for a little bit. Of course, I play a lot of Crab, so it's not like I can't get it back at a moment's notice. What do you tend to do? Do you like to fire them off immediately, or do you have to keep them?
It depends on the matchup, I believe. Against Dragon in particular, I like to hold on to them because I might run into a Restoration of Balance and be able to use them to immediately draw back up. And we do see Heinzel do an interesting move here. He decides to pass on his conflict opportunity and let the Dragon come to him, as it were. And we see both court games trade off to dishonor the Neaten Master, then re-honor it, the classic thing. And then we see a way of the Scorpion come down to land that dishonor firmly on that Neaten Master. Very little Kingsley can do at this point. However, he is pushing through for the tie win so that he can re-honor that Neaten Master again next turn. Because this is a fire conflict.
Yep, definitely like the idea of a fire conflict because it does protect you a little bit in terms of a court games battle and then a wave of the Scorpion. It's a very smart choice there with the ring.
Yep, lots of fast actions coming out. Heinzel drops down a Fiery Madness as well as the Dishonor, but that's counteracted by the Dragon Stronghold, leaving it at 3-3, immediately followed up by an Ornate Fan on Heinzel's side to bring it into his court. And unless Kingsley has another Ornate Fan, I believe that this is just Heinzel's defense to win.
Yeah, unless he wants to go real hard and play... Well, no, he doesn't have any fate, so he can't do that. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, at this point, pretty much, he could have the Assassinate. He does run 1 of, but it'd be a little bit of a waste. Because if you do Assassinate, you're still not even breaking.
Yes, that is the case. However, it would re-honor his Neaten Master for next turn. Now his Neaten Master is quite weak, needing the Stronghold just to become 3. So, effective
he does pass the conflict as well. So yeah, that stays dishonored, unfortunately.
Yep. Effective use by Heinzel to win that defense. I think odds were very much in his favor since he had the court games and the Way of the Scorpion. And we see Kingsley use the Fine Katana here to ready the Neaten Master just to grab favor, which is interesting. That is a ready opportunity he could have maybe used next turn, but perhaps because this Neat Master is dishonored, its value is lessened, he would rather just get the favor. Oh,
I
he
could
does
definitely
also
see
have
him going for the
Sumiko.
favor. Yeah, I was just about to point that out. He has Sumiko, so favor's probably a high priority in this case to allow her to attack multiple times in one turn.
Yep. And hand size is a relatively even. Scorpion is still up one card, but that's to be expected from the storehouse. And the Liar, that's the name. And I imagine Kingsley is going to go for a Sumiko play this turn with 2 Fate. Seems relatively straightforward. And hopefully...
Very straightforward.
Yeah. And Sumiko is actually really resilient to Heinzel's version of Scorpion. Just because a Dishonored Sumiko is not the worst thing ever, because she's only got 1 glory.
Yeah, it's still a 3/3, so on par with Neat Master at no difference in Honor or Dishonor.
Mm-hmm. And the sheer character advantage she'll have with the favor behind her is going to be huge in this matchup. The main answer Heinzel will have for her is Miramoto's Fury, so let's see if he holds a Fate and maybe draws that card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do see a Yogo Outcast with 1 coming from Heinzel. So he is currently higher on Honor, so only a 2/2 for 2. So we'll see if he tries to do some manipulation of the Honor totals to get that a 3/3, or just leave it as a 2/2.
It'll be difficult at this point, because Kingsley's almost certainly bidding 5. It's not like you're going to be giving him any Honor right now. Actually, the Bayushi Manipulator will let you do that. Yes. So the Bayushi Manipulator will let him bid 6 and then take the Honor back with the Stronghold. That's a very good timing for that card to show up.
Oh yeah, I believe it was actually their last turn. But yeah, it's a good time to play it now, so you have the Yoko Outcast synergy.
Yeah, it might have been their last turn. I do not remember what was kept on the provinces. But, yeah. So I imagine Heinzel's going to hold his Stronghold until the very end of the conflict phase and use the Manipulator to stay just below Kingsley on Honor for throughout that conflict phase. Make that Yogo Outcast a 3/3. Heinzel reveals a 1 bid.
He is going on the Dishonor train by this point with that turn 2 1 bid for Honor.
Yep. Heinzel at this point is saying, all right, I think I have the cards I need to close out a Dishonor win. I don't really need to draw more cards. Even by bidding 1, I'm still only 3 cards behind Kingsley. Let's really try and put some Honor pressure on the Dragon player, which is not a bad thing to do if you can do it without losing a lot of tempo.
Yeah, and he didn't lose a province last turn, so he's kind of, forced to go for Honor this turn because he hasn't even flipped a province from his opponent yet.
Interestingly as well, Kingsley just bought a Doom Shugenja and then passed. So he opts out of Sumiko this turn, decides he wants to store up some Fate for Conflict Tricks this turn. Perhaps
very likely he has something like a charge plus reprieve might be sitting in his stand, waiting for Sumiko or even the other Neaton Master.
Yeah, Sumiko would be a great charge target here, especially if you can keep her around for a couple of turns with reprieve. I think if he opens up with a military conflict, that's almost certainly going to be the case. That'll be a telling tip.
Yeah, because we have Heinzel passing this first one here. Definitely wanted to play way more defensively than aggressively at this point.
Yep. I mean, when you're on a Dishonor track, or at least you're trying to pressure Dishonor, you might as well wait and play reactively and try to sneak in some Dishonor when you can. It can be very difficult to force it through on a Dragon player, but if you can sneak it around them or wait for the Dragon player to walk into you, that can change things. And we see Kingsley scout the Pilgrimage, netting a free Fate for Heinzel. And
he is doing political. So interesting, he might have the charge, might not still. This doesn't really tell a whole lot. This is just a face poke.
Yep. And we do have 3 to 2 coming in on the defense here. Actually, it's political, so 4 on Kingsley's side.
So winning, definitely not breaking, and definitely not getting the ring effect, which, pretty good for Heinzel.
Yep, it's a pretty fair trade for Heinzel here. I think he throws something to defend this. He's going to actually defend with Yunako, it looks like, and maybe swap her stats, such that Kingsley has to really push to break this. He's taking a really safe route here. And that's interesting, because Yunako's his best military threat right now, and that Neaton Master is going to be coming in on a military attack next. And he's going to be defending with a 2/2 and a 1/1.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice. He could have something like a for shame, because he does have a courtier out with the Manipulator, as a way to bow the Neaten Master, but that gives Kingsley some counterplay to try and untap him with some weapons.
Ooh, we have a really close policy debate here. 4-3.
Ooh.
So this could be a big deal. I bet you Heinzel... Oh, with the Manipulator, Heinzel can secure it. And turn on I Can Swim, so does he run that? Let me double check. He does have one
He
copy.
has a 1-of.
Yep.
And he has to pay for it. So we could see this Neaten Master die.
Yep. This could be a huge swing on the board if this I Can Swim comes out. And Kingsley does not have Censure at all. So there is no defense whatsoever for this. If he had a reprieve, which he does, I imagine that's going to get discarded. Because if I was Kingsley right now, my first thought would be to put that reprieve on the Neaten Master right now.
Yep, as soon as possible.
Yep. So let's see if Heinzel notices it.
Yeah, because currently, Kingsley's hand is pretty stacked, rocking both the Ancestor weapons with Method and Daisho. Bonsai Charge, he did have the reprieve like we mentioned. He discards the Court Games. Interesting.
Ooh. It's not necessarily the choice I would have chosen. Oh, Kingsley chooses the pass, though. I think that could be...
respect the I Can Swim.
Yeah, I think that might be a telling play. And Heinzel doesn't play it right away. Decides to hold off. Maybe he doesn't have it, and Kingsley calls the bluff.
It is possible. It is only a 1-of, so it's impossible to know exactly if he has it now, because he hasn't dug too far in the deck just yet.
Yep. And Kingsley maybe not respecting as much because he knows he's got a charge and a reprieve still in hand for Sumiko, and maybe that's the line of play he's going for here. Is that even if my Neaten Master gets I Can Swim, that's not the biggest deal. He's already been pretty heavily debuffed as it is. Maybe I can just recover with a new character rather than invest in this Neaten Master.
Pointed out by Soldier, I Can Swim has to be participating, so he could have it, but Master wasn't in that conflict.
You're right. That is actually one of the 3 requirements for I Can Swim, and I forgot it in that moment. So thank you, Soldier.
Yep. No, I totally flubbed on that, but it's good to think about. What if situations? It's important.
Yep.
So we do see Heinzel actually making an attack here with the Adept, which is, I like this a lot, because Adept, you can easily pick it up and play it again for defense, so it's almost a free attack.
Yep, and if you're on the Dishonor track, it's literally free for you.
And this attack was super good for Heinzel because he hits the Feast or Famine, so he can just pick up his Adept and ignore this conflict entirely and not have that fate loss.
Yep, and if Kingsley wants to try and force a break, he's going to have to buff up Heinzel's Adeptive Shadows.
He did have a bonsai, so it is possible.
Yeah, Kingsley could play a bonsai in order to force the Adeptive Shadows out, but the simple answer to that is for Heinzel just to replay it. It would cost Heinzel 2 Fate and an Honor, but I mean that still pushes through this ring unopposed.
Yes.
But Kingsley does defend with the Neaten Master, and his first action is to use Mountain's Anvil, the Stronghold, to buff up the Neaten Master. So I think he is very much, at this point, saying, show me if you got it. And we see a Fiery Madness come out instead. So that Neaten Master is still quite weak.
Yeah, it's
a pretty dead card at this point. It's not worth investing.
You want to see a Master as Dragon with a bunch of attachments. You don't want to see it with a bunch of Fiery Madness on it.
Yeah, this Master has not been having a good time. He came ready for political and military with his Pan and Katana, and he's been drinking the Kool-Aid.
He keeps getting poisoned left and right. He thinks he's getting better, gets dishonored, drinks some more, just way more dishonor.
Yeah, he's just drinking that Scorpion Kool-Aid, as it were. We see a Tattooed Wanderer come down just for the 1 political skill and 1 fate on it as well.
That's dangerous because even just 1 fan from Heinzel here, and you have to go another 2. So I don't know about that. I think he's fighting real hard for it, but it's easy enough for I
think it's fine at this point. Kingsley trading card for card here is very, very favorable for him, considering how much of a hand advantage he has right now. Heinzel plays his own Tattooed Wanderer to answer, showing that he does not have a fan, but we know Kingsley has a method, and he plays it on the Tattooed Wanderer.
Yep. I'm keeping my own little track here of the cards in hand so we can have an idea of what Kingsley has left still.
Yeah. And I have to imagine if Heinzel still has a card to play, it'll be a fan on the Tattooed Wanderer.
So
Maybe he decided to not play it on the Adept because it's not going to stick around.
he's probably not going to, because Kingsley does have the Fury. So he has a panic button built right in his hand.
Oh, that's a good point as well. Um, yeah, good defense by Kingsley. Well, a necessary defense by Kingsley, I would say. Heinzel only has a military conflict left, and if Heinzel decides to do it, Kingsley will be able to get out Sumiko with a reprieve for free and maintain the favor from ring advantage.
Yeah. Very strong play from Kingsley. So probably best to, let's see, because he has in hand Kingsley in this case, still has the Daisho. He still has a Flying Katana. So that master can still stand up.
Yes. We do see the Daisho come out. I imagine the fan's getting dropped. There it is. And this Neaton Master is still one skill. That's enough to poke. And threaten with that Sumiko charge. Well, not even threaten. You're going to play it regardless. So Sumiko will be coming out on this military conflict, I have to imagine.
Yeah, and Heinzel is out of fate, so he can't even try an Ike and swim if he wanted to.
Heinzel does have the option to Forged Edict if he has it. 4 cards in hand. He knows Kingsley has the charge. So if I were Heinzel, I would certainly consider holding on to that Forged Edict for the charge.
For sure. Now, what ring do you think Kingsley wants to go to? Is it just fire to re-honor the master?
Fire is the most likely, but we could see water for the fate. Just to deny it from Heinzel, not necessarily because Kingsley needs the fate himself.
So he actually goes void for his attack. Probably try and get rid of Yunako or possibly Yoko Outcast. Probably Yunako.
It's almost certainly Yunako. So I think he's also just doesn't want Void to be used against him here, so this is also a bit of a denial as well. All 3 ring options are good for Kingsley, but I think Water or Void were probably the 2 more pressing ones. I think you give up on this Neaton Master. Re-honoring him is not necessarily worthwhile. He'll still be not very strong.
For sure. Yeah, we do see Bitmetal making a mention here that Heinzel did see the charge reprieve play, left it in place. Highly likely he has something to try and control that.
Yep. I would be shocked if he does not have a Forged Edict lined up and ready for that charge.
Just, if he could be card shuffling his hands right now, he probably would be. Just waiting to play it.
We see him pick up the Adept of Shadows there. And
makes a lot of sense.
Yep, and the Shameful Display was revealed on the attack here. And he defends with both characters. So now Kingsley might not actually play charge.
It's very likely it leaves him open to a dishonor on the Sumiko and honoring one of his own guys, so 2-point swing in the bad direction for Kingsley.
Yeah. And, Kingsley is a very strong player and can hopefully presume a lot of similar things about Heinzel's hand, about how he left the charge reprieve for Kingsley to use. So that means likely it's just going to get Forged Edict anyway. So it's whether or not Kingsley wants to try and force out the Edict, or if he thinks he wants to save that charge for another day.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Kingsley does try a Bonsai here to try and force out that Forged Edict in order to not only be higher, but also taking the ring.
Yep, so we saw the Bonsai, and then the Forged Edict came out. Yep. And that is the extent of the Edict there. So now Charge Reprieve is free. I have to imagine Kingsley takes it now. I'm surprised that the Edict was used on that Bonsai. But I guess the Bonsai would have meant he didn't need to charge.
Unless he has double Forged Edict.
He has no more courtiers to dishonor, so even if he did...
So there's the charge. It's interesting. He could have done the Shameful Display to re-honor his manipulator to have another courtier in order to cancel with Forged Edict.
That is correct.
But he just does the Outcast instead, dishonoring Sumiko.
Yep, and this is going to be a very swole Sumiko here in a second.
Plays the other Fine Katana.
Yep, the Fine Katana is coming down. The Reprieve will keep her in play. And the Neaton Master still has one skill to contribute here, which is enough to break right now.
Yeah, it is breaking. So yeah, we've got 2 Skirmishers, 1 Fury, and the Reprieve still left in Kingsley's hand. So not a bad hand for sure. Don't know what Heinzel has yet because he hasn't lost a policy debate, but I imagine it's not terrible cards. Maybe not things that are going to win this conflict because he does pass and lose the shameful display.
Yep. Worth noting as well, the one policy debate Heinzel played, I do believe this is one of in the deck, so no more
That is
policy
his
debate.
only non-core card in the deck. Yes.
Yeah. Heinzel showing the strength of Core Set Scorpion.
Indeed.
And I imagine Kingsley's going to reprieve Sumiko here and have a very strong board going into next turn.
Retains the favor, has claimed 3 rings, so yeah, he has an interesting board coming in. Good point. He does have a couple of ancestrals in play, so it's not like he's not going to have a couple cards coming back when they do. But as of now, they still have a couple turns to wait.
Yep. Right now, unknown cards in hand for Heinzel is equivalent to Kingsley's current hand, but those ancestrals do effectively give Kingsley 2 cards.
We actually see a let go from Heinzel, discarding the reprieve.
Ah, nice. That's beautiful. That's exactly what he needs to keep this 100%. Board under his control. And he's going to have an Honor Jogo Outcast as well as a Tattooed Wanderer for next turn. That's very good play from Heinzel. Which would be why Fortiatic was probably better used on the Bonsai rather than the Charge, because the Charge Sumiko is not the worst thing ever.
When she's not sticking around. Province, but yeah, does not stay around. Choose to discard Shoju.
We saw Kingsley choose to discard both of his high characters there, which is an interesting choice considering he's going into this turn with 10 Fate, but sees Yokuni anyways, so who am I to say anything against it?
And Heinzel has a bit of a choke here because if he does bid 1 to 5, that's another 4 honor. Kingsley's down to 2 and has only broken 1 province, so things are not great for Kingsley.
Yeah, both players playing this exceedingly well. Kingsley can stay alive quite easily with just an air ring take this turn, and as first player, he should be able to force that through.
Sure.
As well, I expect Kingsley to not go full ham here. Simply bid 2 or 3. Keeping his hand full of cards to play, but not risking a dishonor out because that Neaten Master will be leaving play this turn, most likely.
Yeah, so we see the Investigator with 1 coming from Kingsley. And we're going to see what Heinzel's going to do here. He has a couple options. Has the Illusionist, has another Unico. Chooses for the Miyako. Interesting choice. He does have the Adaptive Shadow still in hand. So you can force a discard or a dishonor onto Heinzel's board. Or Kingsley's board.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Kingsley needs to be wary of that Adaptive Shadows so that he doesn't get a unopposed for forgetting it.
Now, this is interesting. So Heinzel goes for the Liar, but that doesn't leave him enough fate to play the Adaptive Shadows.
That's true, but he should be able to get a fate off of a ring here.
Yeah, I imagine he's probably banking on getting some fate off a ring.
Mm-hmm. And I have to imagine Heinzel's going to bid 1. Kingsley will bid mid. I don't think he's going to go fully to 1 yet, considering I think if he feels threatened, he can just take the air or fire ring to sort of stabilize.
For sure. 5 from
both players mind gaming way more than I ever thought I could commentate for. Oh boy, Kingsley feels perfectly safe to just say, I'll go to 2 honor, let's go. I want the cards. And Heinzel bids 5 as well.
Heinzel mentioned he's a madman, and I entirely agree.
Yeah.
That could have been very bad for Kingsley.
Kingsley proving his philosophy here.
Had that soul read on Heinzel.
Yeah, Kingsley proving his philosophy here of bidding high is only really bad if you run out of honor. He doesn't really care until that honor is 0. So
Kingsley does copy the pressure. Master.
Yep, that means for sure he has at least another weapon in hand. And we haven't seen a Pathfinder's Blade yet from Kingsley, so yeah, most likely going to be happening soon.
Yeah, about halfway through the deck, should be seeing at least 1 by now.
Mm-hmm. And Kingsley will probably go for a political attack here first. Probably sending that Tattooed Wanderer and the Kitsuki Investigator just to have a peek-see into Heinzel's hand and see what's going on there.
For sure. And Kingsley still has at least 1 Miramutos and 2 Skirmishers, so it's not unlikely he's probably going to get at least, if not 1, 2 breaks this turn, depending on how well Heinzel can defend them. But Covert's a pretty strong ability, as it turns out.
Turns out Covert's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So we're waiting here. Let's see what.
Yeah, that's fair,
where's
but that'll
first. Oh, looks like
600s.
looks like
Go for it. Sorry.
yeah, it looks like Kingsley going for a political conflict, but not with the investigator. Saving it for a first action on defense. It looks like. Oh, it's actually a military conflict as well.
Very interesting. And he goes for the water ring, not only to bow down probably the outcast, but to get that 2 fate off of it to deny Heinzel.
Yep. Not feeling the under pressure anymore, he's perfectly free to take that ring without needing to go for air.
For sure.
Also, this is the very troublesome water ring for Heinzel's board, because if Kingsley manages to win it here, he'll bow out the Yogo Outcast, leaving just a Bayushi Liar for Heinzel to attack or defend with.
Yeah, thankfully, he only has a political conflict left, but 3 is probably not going to cut it when he's looking at 8 coming back at him.
Yep. I think this puts Heinzel in a very rough position. So, expert bidding by Kingsley leads into conflict advantages.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, and we see Kingsley playing a dice show onto the Wanderers. He's got both on there, so winning, but not breaking. But he's probably not trying to break, just at least getting the win.
Another Wanderer come down just as 2 additional skill for Heinzel spending his last fate. Sort of shows us that he does not have a Fury in hand, because a Fury would have been a bigger point swing here just to bow out the Tattooed Wanderer. And we see Miyako trigger. Kingsley chooses to dishonor the Tattooed Wanderer, and then Mountains Anvil Castle is used to give Tattooed Wanderer +2/+2. Ooh, I'm not sure about that one, because I think there's still the possibility of assassination happening.
Yeah, it is definitely it's a one of, but it's a card.
It is a card.
He's not terribly low in honor, so it's not like he's going to feel any pain from playing that.
Yep. So I think maybe just doing the Neaton Master instead was the better play, just because you don't lose as much from an assassination. But it doesn't seem as though Heinzel has drawn it here, resolving a bonsai instead to make up that differential. It's going to be very difficult for Kingsley to get 4 more unless he also plays a bonsai and spends the honor.
Ooh, interesting. Ooh. So we see a rap battle coming from Kingsley onto the other Wanderer.
Yep, Wanderer versus Wanderer rap battle, and we see Adept of Shadows, 2 Cloud the Mines, a Fiery Madness, a Forged Edict, and an Ornate Fan in Heinzel's hand. For this one, I think...
Do you just take the Forged Edict and never worry about a cancel for the rest of the turn?
Yeah, I think so, and that's exactly what Kingsley does. There may have been an argument for a Cloud the Mind, but Heinzel has no fate right now, and his only Shugenja is leaving play, and Kingsley is trying to force through a break on the province that would otherwise give him a Shugenja next turn. So I think the Forged Edict is definitely the choice here.
For sure. Yeah, we do see Heinzel win this, but at what cost, really? Now we do have he has the Outcast still, but you've got 8 political coming back at you.
Mm-hmm. And that is Kingsley's first policy debate, so there's still 1 more floating in his deck somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Now here's a question: do you think canceling with Forged Edict on that rap battle was better? Bring up by a Tenerim here.
It may have been. Well, at least with the outcome, it was almost strictly better, because you just spend an honor to prevent Kingsley from knowing your entire hand. Because the Forged Edict got discarded anyway, right? You might as well have played it. But you can't necessarily know for sure if Kingsley's going to pick the Forged Edict. So I think Heinzel just said, I'll take the chance that maybe he doesn't discard the Forged Edict, and maybe still have that. Or maybe, he didn't really value any card in his hand too highly enough to feel the Forged Edict was necessary.
For sure. And we do see an attack here coming from Heinzel with the Outcast and the Liar. Going in, block with the Investigator. Investigator takes that Ornate Fan from the hand.
Yep. And that gives Kingsley a perfect read on the state of the board, enough to just win that conflict, because Heinzel can't buff anymore.
Yeah, at this point, I think, probably going to lose that second province.
Yep, he's just going to go break that pilgrimage.
Yokuni.
There is nothing Heinzel can do about this, I believe. Depth of Shadows, 2 Cloud of the Mind, Fire Madness. Yep, literally nothing Heinzel can do.
Yep.
Kingsley to rub
Nothing
salt in
at
the
all.
wound, picks up a 2 fate off of the fire ring, because he put one there for the investigator. And that's not a great turn for Heinzel. Things are actually starting to really slip. We see his control in the game loosen a bit. And at the end of this turn, Kingsley's going to have an Honored Investigator and Yokuni, while Heinzel just has Miyako. And fewer cards in hand.
Yeah, it's interesting. It comes down to the bid. I don't know if it was actually wrong for Heinzel to bid 5, but at the same time, it gave enough of a buffer for Kingsley to have this many cards and answers in his hand without having to worry about honor or dishonor.
Yeah, it really, what it ended up doing is giving Kingsley a fate advantage, because now instead of having or feeling pressure to go for the air ring, Kingsley could freely grab the water and then the fire ring, which gave him a huge fate advantage on this turn, because Heinzel just couldn't find room to attack.
For sure. Soldier, the Yokuni copied Neaton Master. So if you had a weapon, he could stand again, but in this case, he's out of conflict, so probably not going to happen.
Yep. Looks like Kingsley decides to keep the Neaton Master around. Decides, you know what, he's not so bad. He's still a 1-1. That's perfectly playable.
It's a decent poke.
Actually, is he a 1-1? He's a 1-1 with the Stronghold, right? Well, I gotta do some
math. He's -4/-4.
Yeah, but he's actually -1/-1, but Kingsley decides the body's worth it. Because he's a 5/5 base with the positive attachments, but -6 from the negative attachments and the dishonor. So with the Stronghold, he's a 1-1.
Keeping him around. For sure, yeah. Keeping him around for Yokuni is also not terrible.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason he did it, is to keep him around for Yokuni.
And that does give him back those, the investigation and the other Daisho back to Kingsley's hand from the Wanderer leaving play.
Yep, so a solid card advantage for Kingsley at this point, and character advantage, and fate advantage. Kingsley has just taken all the advantages. We see a Sumiko with a dupe and a dupe for Yokuni. I can't imagine Kingsley could have set it up better himself if he could stack the deck.
Yeah, that's a great flop to see from Kingsley. Heinzel's flop, on the other hand, is pretty weak overall, unfortunately.
Yep, we see him scramble just to get the most stats. Just trying to get the most stats on the board for as little as possible. He's investing fate on it because he feels he needs to survive this turn and still have bodies on the board. Because if he just buys an extra character here without putting this extra fate on the 2-drops, what ends up happening is Kingsley will just not win this turn, but survive till next turn, and then the same problem is present for Heinzel. So he's going, all right, I'm going to take a slower turn here. I need to build up a board if I have any chance of winning this game, because if I don't build a board now, next turn I'm just going to lose for sure.
For sure. And honestly, this turn might actually be the last turn. Kingsley has at least 2 skirmishers in his hand, so he's winning at least 1 military conflict. It's to see if he can win the political as well.
Yep. We see Kingsley do the switch this time. He goes to 2 cards in hand.
Yep, now we have Kingsley on the higher honor count.
Yep, but that if Heinzel maybe foresaw that a little more, he maybe would have bought the Yogo Outcast instead of that Blackmail Artist, but it wasn't guaranteed at all. And we see the Stronghold used to just put him back up on higher honor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is now firmly Kingsley's game to lose.
Yeah, I know. Kingsley's going to have to make some very weird mistakes to actually lose this game.
Yep.
Or Heinzel has to pull a miracle out of somewhere.
Yeah, that last turn was beautifully orchestrated by Kingsley, and I'm not sure there was much Heinzel could have done to really prevent that.
So we do see Okuni copy Neaton Master, which makes a lot of sense.
Yep, it would be the reason to reprieve the Neaton Master for sure. And Kingsley's definitely going to go for the win here. He's got favor with Sumiko and Yokuni, both being able to attack twice, and the Neaton Master, I guess, can tag along as well. But his job is done.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a whopping 12 stats without any attachments or the stronghold helping out for Kingsley, just between Yokuni and Sumiko, that are going at you in both attacks. Heinzel needs a miracle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see both skirmishers come down here as well, and hate out his best political or specifically military, because it's only military for the skirmisher, but
Yep.
just to get that free military break, stand everything back up, and then have him go to the stronghold politically.
Heinzel
Although
needs Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say for the Earth province, we do see it's the entrenched position, most likely underneath Heinzel's stronghold.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he does try and skirmisher this first conflict and then go political for the stronghold.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the outs Heinzel has to survive this turn are very limited. He would need to have a Miyamoto's Fury on Sumiko on the first attack before the stronghold is revealed. And then for Yokuni, he's going to need Two-Way of the Scorpion or mixtures of Force Shame thrown in there as well to just... He's going to have to throw multiple cards at Yokuni to just keep him down. So it's not completely over for Heinzel, but he needs to have a very specific set of cards at this point to have a chance.
Yeah, not impossible, highly unlikely.
We see... We see Heinzel carefully considering his position here, deciding if he wants to do a poking attack and maybe try and force a defense from Kingsley. But that Neat Master will just be a free body to defend with.
Yeah, and the biggest problem if he does do an attack here, even just one, that does give Kingsley the double skirmisher out for that free military conflict.
Yep. That's also very correct. Or a skirmisher and a tattooed wanderer. We've only seen one wanderer from Kingsley, I believe.
True. I know he has double skirmisher in hands. The reason I mentioned that.
Yes, oh yeah, you're right.
It is likely that he has a skirmisher, though, or the wanderer, though.
Yep, and Heinzel does choose to pass, taking the wise route here, understanding just on how thin ice he is standing.
Yeah, it's... I don't think he didn't have an attack, but I think it'd be such a risky attack, it's just not worth it. Because he does have an adept in his hand still. So he has a way to have another body come down and then get a Miyako trigger. But it's rough with this type of board staring back at you.
This is probably one of the scariest dragon boards you could possibly face. It's the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, if the master was not dishonored and had a couple different attachments, this game would be over. It probably still is, but we'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and someone in chat points out that we do know Heinzel's provinces, so it's definitely entrenched position on the stronghold.
Yeah,
but it's still fun to conjecture. It's good practice, right? You have to do this in game, so why not? Yeah, so Kingsley, thinking over pre-conflict actions here, chooses to pass, so he goes not for a covert line of play. Decides it's probably not worthwhile, opening with the political attack, which is interesting considering he knows entrenched positions on the stronghold. I would open military just to put entrenched position down to 5 strength rather than 10. But
yeah,
Kingsley decides to go for it. Maybe he has another policy debate, as well as the Katsuki investigator just looking to neuter Heinzel's any chance of defense at all. Feels confident that if he just removes some key cards, he can get it no matter what.
Yeah, a very safe line of play, just in terms of being able to see what he has and what options are there as well.
Interesting as well that he has chosen to attack with Sumiko, leaving her open to be furied. I think Yokuni might have been a better target here to bring into this conflict.
Although we do see the investigator trigger here because he managed to gain a fate and he didn't have a fury in his hand.
Yep. And if you had the fury, you would play it immediately on Sumiko since he had the 2K to do so.
100% shotgun.
And we do see Heinzel's hand again. We have 2 Adeptive Shadows now, 2 Cloud the Mind still there. He has drawn a Court Games, a Court Mask, and 2 Fine Katanas since we last saw his hand. The Fiery Madness was there before as well. So Heinzel's hand does have some ability to stymie the dragon aggression, but I'm not sure it's enough.
Yeah, and as brought out, this does leave Sumiko up to be clouded, to not be able to stand. Looks like he's not going to do that, though.
That seems like a very interesting line of play. I feel like the Cloud of the Mind there should have happened.
Yeah, although let goes are very likely in Kingsley's hand. So I
It's
don't know
fair too.
if he did play one, it was going to stick or not.
I mean, at this point, I think you've just gotta risk it for the biscuit, my friend, and you gotta make the plays that win you the game, and not really worry so much about what's in Kingsley's hand, but worry so much about what's on the board and running at you.
For sure. And yeah, brought up as we kind of both missed it. There's no Furies in Heinzel's list.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Ah, you're right. It's three Wanderer, two Echo. Wow. All right,
Yep.
you got me, chat. Well played.
And I remember talking about this before when I was casting Heinzel's other game. I just forgot.
Yeah, I mean, I see green cards. I expect Fury. So
Yeah. It's like, okay, so he's got 3 Fury, and then what the 2 other cards he got.
yep.
All right, and we do see Kingsley use a skirmisher at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays the second one also in order to just try and get that covert. He only runs 2, so you can't have the 3, the 3 magical ones. Could still have a Wanderer. So if he gets the Wanderer, he completely coverts out Heinzel's board.
Yep. And let's see how much Kingsley needs to go for here. I imagine just removing Miyako is probably more than enough to win the game, but
Mm-hmm.
and that's what
We
Kingsley
do see
does.
Kingsley pass. Yeah, he's being a lot more conservative with this.
Yep. And Heinzel has passed both of his conflict opportunities as well. So there's not even going to be a counterattack this turn.
Not even close. So we do see the transposition. Hey, we guessed right. So that puts it 11 strength to Kingsley's 14. So not gonna survive here, I'm thinking.
Yep. Bit Metal in chat, or sorry, Soldier Token brings up in chat that I wonder is actually more useful as just a character for the 2 military than as the covert right now. Just because it's only
That's fair.
coverting one skill.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because he does know his hand. He knows he doesn't have a force shame or anything like that. That's gonna bow down a character if he does leave like a courtier, as Click was saying. And it also the 2 stats. I think if he had more military power in play, like let's say he had the outcast, he probably would have played the other skirmisher to covert the other outcast in order to make it a more impactful point swing in terms
Yep.
of stopping 3 power versus 1.
Yep. And Kingsley has it here.
Yep, he has a
Heinzel
bonsai.
Heinzel did concede upon the playing of a bonsai, and that is just the game. So well played by Kingsley. The last 2 turns were a blur, where Kingsley just took complete control of the game and just didn't let go. Was in the driver's seat the entire time. We saw Heinzel had no room to even make a conflict himself, and I don't know what could get him out of that position within his deck. Unfortunately, no strong removal answers for some of these dragon characters might have ended up hurting him in the long run.
Yeah, not having a fate worse death was definitely a fate worse death. A
It's
fate
true.
worse than death.
That is true as well.
Yeah, so probably so Kingsley is moving on. Let's see here. For the cup, what is his potential candidates? So he's either playing a mirror match with Mind Desire or a crane match coming up next. We'll have to see how that goes.
Yep. And Mind's Desire, we mentioned it earlier when we started the early stream, but he is now a Dragon Hatamoto, so congratulations to him going undefeated
For
at
sure.
the Kote.
Yeah.
So clearly a strong player and a great guy in
Oh, yeah.
person. He's one of the friendliest
For
guys
sure.
I
No,
ever knew.
he's a blast to hang out with in crab chat for sure.
Yep. And so yeah, looks like Kingsley would rather face the Crane, because I know Kingsley likes to say that Crane is far and away his easiest matchup. But a Dragon Mirror could certainly be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as someone's bringing out in chat, that Dragon kind of wins their games on default unless you have something to do with their giant fatties. I disagree. It's very strong, and some clans don't have an answer, but I don't think it's just I win all my games with dragon type scenario.
Right. It's also a case that like dragon can go very fast, but there is the potential to race a dragon player. Very strong potential to do that if they don't have the Neaten Master, or you have a way to control the Neaten Master early. It's very likely you can break 2 provinces trading with the dragon and end up going first on the turn where it matters, and then from there keep the dragon on the back foot. Dragon's certainly very tough.
Yeah, they're very good. Having the very even stat distribution across a lot of their characters kind of hurts a lot of these tricks that other clans can have in terms of like dishonor or like the stat switching in Scorpion. But he did a good job controlling the first master, but then Kingsley kind of just ignored it and started playing other cards they just couldn't handle. In terms of like, Sumiko, Yukuni, things like that.
Yep. I'm currently talking to Kingsley, seeing if he's interested in maybe a post-match discussion, and Heinzel as well. Let me see how that goes.
Fair enough. Yeah, as the chat's saying, no Fury, no Fate worse than death seems like put Scorpion in a much worse position against Dragon.
Yes.
And that's not really wrong. Way the Scorpion does help a bit, but Fate worse than death does a lot to stave off that Voltron of the Neat Master or Yukuni or anything like that. And then Fury, that's just it's a good card overall. I'm curious if he thinks the Wanderers are still better than Fury, or if he's going to go with Fury in his next list or not.
If Heinzel is certainly interested in getting into the call and having a discussion. I have not heard back from Kingsley yet.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely want to pick his brain a little bit on that bid 5 turn. If he maybe gave up on Dishonor a little too early.
Yeah. Maybe he felt the pressure. I feel like.
Oh, for sure. I don't think Heinzel's flops were particularly great this game.
Yeah, that's for
They weren't awful, but definitely a lot of the low cost in this. Admittedly, not a very high cost deck, but he didn't see anything like a Haru, which would have been pretty good against Dragon in a lot of cases, just pulling them in, denying those extra attacks.
Yep, and also, I think we've seen most of the 2-drop characters in Heinzel's deck this game. Certainly, 2 of the Outcasts, 2 of the Illusionists.
Yeah, 2 Outcasts, 2 Illusionists, Rumor Monger, it looks like 1 Manipulator.
Yep. And as well, just like the Adept of Shadows as well is effectively just a 2-drop character. So
yeah,
Heinzel certainly had a lot of weenies going on, and nothing really large or threatening on board to really push through some conflict wins.
Yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't running Lion, so he can't just make everyone huge and smash. Scorpion's a little bit different in that aspect.
All right, so I'm gonna be adding Heinzel to the call here. All right, hey.
Is Kingsley coming as well?
Yep, I'm adding him in right now.
Alrighty.
Hey, all right. Kingsley should be on here in just a sec.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going, Kingsley? And you too, Heinzel.
Well.
It was an awesome game. It was really fun to commentate. You guys are like lightning.
We've played one another a few times before, and I think we're both pretty used to these decks, and also even to this matchup.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say if you played before, did either of you feel particularly favored in this, or do you feel like it was anyone's game?
I think, at least for me, I think that based on the results of games that we've played recently, I'm slightly favored, but I think it is anyone's game. I think also that it's very easy. I think Dragon has the advantage as long as they don't make serious mistakes, but I think that it's very easy to do something wrong and put yourself in a lot of danger against Scorpion.
Yeah, that Eaton Master had several bad run-ins with the Scorpion clan, I should say.
Yeah, that's the way it goes sometime. One mistake that I did make was that I actually mulliganed a let go from my opening hand. Normally let go is not that relevant against Scorpions, but I had forgotten to check the deck lists first, and I was sort of slapping myself in the face on that one. I don't think I literally slapped myself in the face, but I was thinking it when I remembered that Heinzel plays 2 or 3 Fiery Madness. I was like, oh, yeah, that would have been nice to keep. But I think I got that Kitsuki's method instead of it, and if I recall correctly, I was able to use it multiple times, so I mean, not terrible.
Yeah, you had several ancestral attachments returned to hand. I believe you had at least a double use of a Daisho and a method when the Tattooed Wanderer went play.
Yep.
Yeah, and Heinzel, you were doing an awesome job controlling the game early on, and then towards the end of turn 3, it just Kingsley managed to swing it all back. How were you feeling towards that point of the game?
I felt on the back foot for the whole game just because it's so hard to think around Dragon's provinces. You can't really take carelessly into them. And I think my start should have been different, but I think my start was something like Imperious Storehouse, Baishi Laya, Manipulator, and Unico.
Yeah, something like that.
And the manipulator was on the shameful display, and I thought like, yeah, he's going to attack the card that's left. But originally, I thought about this matchup that maybe you just want to play the cheap ones in the beginning and try just to attack blindly into the provinces a bit load, so you don't get blown out by restoration of balance. And so you get to see the provinces and get to make decisions based on that, because later in the game, if you have a big character with a lot of fate, you just can't attack. You cannot do it because of his famine. And but I decided differently just because, well, maybe he attacks the shameful display when he's attacking, which would be quite good for me, getting Unico honored and one of his characters dishonored. But what it ultimately meant is that I couldn't really attack, which puts you really far behind on fate, it turns out. Especially then I decided, okay, I cannot attack because of Feast of Famine, so I'm going to defend, so I might as well draw cards. And I draw quite a lot of cards that require fate. And it went downhill from there.
Yeah, we definitely noticed some of your draws were not as optimal as some of Kingsley's. There was that turn where you flipped a duplicate of Yokuni as well as Sumiko and the second and third copies of Sumiko, essentially.
Oh yeah, I was very happy to see that Dynasty flop. That was quite strong.
Yeah, I believe I said something along the lines of, I don't think Kingsley could have stacked it better himself, so
Yeah.
that was a very fortunate fall for you.
Yeah, the only way to improve that would have been to make the other card a holding.
Yeah, for sure. And so,
Or I guess, no, I think I'd already seen the other Sumiko. I was gonna say, I guess if it was like yet another duplicate, that would be even better, but
Yeah.
it was not.
Yeah, you had her on turn 1, and I believe you ditched her to draw more cards at some point.
Yeah.
And so, Heinzel, one thing that was really interesting about your deck as well is you're running a Dragon Splash, and when I see a lot more Crab Splash personally myself. Do you want to talk about like your splash and maybe some of your choices compared to other Scorpion players, like the lack of a Fate Worse Than Death, your use of maybe more Way of the Scorpion, and Fiery Madness?
Yeah, it's mostly because it's pretty similar to my list that I just used to play in the only core set environment. And whenever a new card for Scorpion came out, I thought about it, but none of them seemed really great. Fate Worse Than Death is really risky in my opinion, just because so many clans are because against some clans it's just dead, and against others it's still, you need to keep the fate back, which really telegraphed that you have something going on. So I'm not really sure about it. maybe I should have tested it a little bit more with it, but like the 4 fate cost is really expensive. Many other
For
scorpions are
sure.
running City of Lies, which makes it cheaper and more reasonable, but this deck is already so fate heavy just because of the Fiery Madness, Cloud of Minds, or the conflict characters, that it's really hard to get into a situation where you have 4 fate left to play that card. Like there are those weird games where where both players just don't play a lot of cards or don't get a good dynasty flop to utilize their fate, and they get really large amounts of fate. But at least in the games I played, like that almost never happens. It's mostly around like when I have a lot of fate left, it's more like 3 fate or something. And even then, like just blowing 4 fate on this one event is really like it seems really situational for me. And also there are clans, especially since Senja came out, you can't really, if they have the favor, you can't really play it just because you can't be sure whether they have Senja or not.
All valid points. There was actually another interesting point as well is you don't run Mirabota's Fury in this entire... There was like a large section of the time where me and Vince were both commentating. We're like, well, if he has Fury here, that takes care of like X and Y and Z. And then someone in chat had to point out to us that you don't run Fury. And we were like, oh,
Yeah,
well, this looks really dire now.
I think I maybe should change that just because back in Corset's days it was for the line matchup where Mirabota's Fury doesn't do that much just because they can swarm so much, and there the Wanderer was better. But
Yeah,
maybe I
Lion
should.
has ready for battle too. It's pretty risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now with Dragon being a much more strong force in the meta, I think maybe Fury might
Yeah.
be a strong consideration.
But also against Dragon, like their strong characters, most of them have 2 or 3 glory.
Yeah. Sumiko is the one where it's really good against her, but
Yeah.
but like Niten Master's a bad target even early because they might just stand him up again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Yokuni, it's hard to play it on him.
Mm-hmm. Very true, but I think like anything that sort of like slows Dragon down a bit can give you just enough breathing room to maybe crack back. Because against Dragon, I always feel like it's a bit of a race, trying to win the game before they win against you.
Dragon is very strong right now.
It's certainly strong, my friend.
I think Dragon is currently the strongest deck by a lot.
I'm curious how the Kote is playing out right now. I believe, actually, I know for a fact that actually all the dragons were eliminated in the round of 8 there. There were 2 Scorpion, a Phoenix, and a Crane left.
One of the dragons actually beat his opponent, but then left because he had to catch a flight.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, that was Mind's desire. He had to catch a flight, so was able to continue to play.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's quite unfortunate because he was kind of my favorite to win, but you know.
Yeah, I would have loved to see him win a Kote.
Yep.
So
Vince...
I actually had a...
Oh, go ahead, Vince.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say I had a quick question from... I have a couple quick questions, actually. Namely, one from chat. Heinzel, when he attacked him with Sumiko and Investigator, you had a couple Cloud the Minds in the hand. What was your thought process on not clouding Sumiko?
Was that in the final turn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Kingsley had drawn a lot of cards that I didn't know, and I was just assuming that probably a let go will be part of that. So I just wanted to preserve my fate to play in Adept of Shadows because that's just a safe investment of fate because I was really fate starved. I have 1 card in hand that doesn't cost fate right now, and 7 others that do. So it was really hard to decide what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
that's entirely fair. Figured it was something like that, but chat was asking, so I give him a question. One other thing I was thinking about as well, with that turn where Kingsley had that soul read and bid 5 to your 5. Do you think it was maybe a little too early to try and give up on Dishonor at that point to bid 5?
I wouldn't see this generally as giving up on Dishonor. It's just I wanted to delay it a little bit more. Especially because in this case, if I had bid 1, he would have gone down to 2. I think he had The adept was okay. The adept was the master was dishonored,
Mhm.
but I really wanted to have something in my hand to play because most of my cards costed fate, and I didn't have any fate left over, and because I couldn't really attack and gain fate from the rings, so I thought to myself, okay, I really need to get some cards so I can win conflicts, which turned out didn't really help because most of the cards I drew were costed fate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It makes a lot of sense as well, considering Kingsley was first player on that turn. Putting on the dishonor pressure there is pretty easily answered by him just attacking with the air ring first and getting a little bit of breathing room.
So oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one thing I noticed, Heinzel, is that you actually have manicured gardens instead of the secret cache.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a good point.
You might have noticed that a lot of things that I did this game were motivated by my lack of fate.
Yeah, I definitely
And
did notice that.
yeah, that's the main reason why I'm playing Manicured Garden over Secret Cache. And also, like, most of the cards I play aren't that situational. Like when I started building my deck, I just put all the cards that add value in, and then and some text choices. So the draw isn't that important, especially a Scorpion. Like most of the time, I'm building 5 until I'm in danger of losing, or until I want to choke my opponent out. So the card draw isn't as valuable, in my opinion.
Yes,
At least.
there's not the same element of trying to draw the most optimal card.
Yeah, like there aren't really any synergies, so I don't really need any combo pieces.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Good stuff. Decks do pretty well. All right, Vince, do you have any other questions you would like to ask?
Yes. So Kingsley, when he did bid the 5v5, did you think he was bidding 5, or was that just I'm going to bid 5 no matter what type of play?
You know, I thought about it myself, but my reasoning in that situation was that if he did bid really low, I knew that I already had a hand that was like doing pretty well, and that I was probably going to be able to, in that case, go for the air and fire rings, try to get that going to stave off that and just win based on card advantage. In general, I think it's very risky to start bidding low unless your opponent is at very low honor or you're actually already winning the game. So then the next turn, because I had 2 dishonored characters and I think I had lost 1 point of honor from a bonsai or something, I decided at that point to lower my bid since I thought it was too risky.
Okay.
But
What's your threshold for like low honor? Is like 5 or lower?
my threshold for low honor is something like 4 or 5, but it's a combination of your actual total and the number of dishonored characters that you have. So I think that on that turn I had 6 honor. I had 6 honor base, but I had 2 dishonored characters at the start of the turn.
Oh, okay.
If I
That
recall
makes a lot of
correctly.
sense.
So that's like, in my view, that's the same as having 4 or 5, which means that if I were to bid 5 and he were to bid 1, I would be at, notional 0. And maybe I stave that off before my characters actually leave, but it's not really a place you want to be.
For sure.
I also, I think that one thing that has proven annoying for Scorpion is that they can't rely as much on I can swim causing the opponent to bid high at this point, I think. I'm
Yeah,
just like less scared of that than I used to be.
I actually agree with that, and I think I Can Swim is the first card I'm going to cut when we are allowed new deck lists.
I will say
Because
I'm a lot more worried about Worse Than Death than I am about I Can Swim at this phase.
yeah, I Can Swim is just too conditional.
Though I
Yep.
think that if you run 3 policy debates, for instance, you have more of a chance of enabling it based on dueling, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that has a lot of synergy with policy debate, just because you're doing so many different honor bids, it actually becomes active a lot more often. And Iconson was something we were talking about earlier in the earlier turn where the Neaton Master was dishonored and everything. We were talking, oh, it's going to get Icon swimmed. And then we read the card that says participating. So, pros and cons.
Yeah, I think that also on the turn that the Master was dishonored, I think we were 5-5 bidding wise, though I could be wrong.
There was a policy debate where Heinzel bid 2 tier
Oh,
1.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That too was like so telling to me at first. I was like, oh, he has it. It's got to be it. But didn't play out.
But
that
it
way.
was not to be.
Yeah. Sometimes you
Still a
predict
great
things
game,
and
though,
it fails.
for sure.
Yeah.
Thank both of you for coming in here, letting us in the chat pick your brains a bit, and congratulations to both of you as well for making it this far in the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good game, and hope to see you guys, or hope to see you guys in future leagues. And Kingsley, I hope to commentate more of your games in the future because it's exciting to see top tier Dragon play.
Yeah. Did you guys? Would you happen to know who it is that I'm going to play against in the next round?
It will be either Mind's Desire or a Crane player whose name escapes me right now.
Daidoji Micah.
Oh, tight. Okay. Maybe Man's Desire and I will have the Dragon Showdown.
Yep. That will be a fun one to see.
All right. Well, later, guys.
All right. Thank you guys, and those of you who watched the stream, thank you for watching, and I'll be doing more of these in the future. So feel free to drop a follow. And Vince, thank you for joining me as well. It was a good time. You were an excellent commentator.
Why, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I hope to do it more. Either here, Mind's Desire, whatever, wherever I can stick my googly eyes in.
Yep, exactly. Spread the googly love. That's what makes you the googly meister.
It's true.
Yep. Until next time, take care.
See ya.